Alright, we're going to make a, we're going to start building this. So this will be the setup. I'm going to need to go to my Dropbox here, REPL. We will make a new project, whatever you want. I'm going to call mine Tic-Tac-Toe project, or you can call yours that. Alright, so to get started, I'm going to click on the script here, and right now you've got nothing going on. So we're going to set some things up for our board. We need some things on the screen to be able to look at. So we need something to indicate who the player is, who the current player is, whose turn it is. And then we also need something that shows the state of the game, where we're at in the game. So first, let's get these things onto the screen that we're going to use. Now, putting things onto the screen is something that you do it the same way every time, and since I've got more than one thing I want to add, what we like to do in programming is not type the same code more than once. So I kind of don't want to do the same thing repeatedly. So I'm going to make a function already at this point, and I'm going to call it make. And all I need to do is specify the type of thing I want to make, and it should put this on the screen for me. So I'm just going to say make a new thing, and this is going to be a document.create element type. So whatever type I put in here, it's going to create an HTML element of that type, you know, calling upon the page to create an element. I'm going to append this child node to the page, so it's now on the page. And then I'm going to return the new thing so that when I make it, I can give it a name and refer to it later. So this function will allow me to create things, and I'm going to start by making something called the player box, which is the indicator of whose turn it is. I'm just going to say make a div. And then I'm going to make a canvas element, and I can just say make a canvas. So I can do that, and append child, can I have more than one element child? Let's see, create element type. What did I do wrong? Body.append, sorry. Alright, so you cannot see it, but if I say inspect element in this web page, I can see that in my body there is a div and a canvas. And so I have added them to the page. So that's good. I'm going to get rid of this inspector here. And now I want to be able to see them, so I'm going to style these things. So to style things, I'm going to say player box dot style dot background, and I'm going to make this a light green background, and I need to give it a height and a width. I'll make the height 100 pixels, and I'm going to copy and paste that line and make the same thing for the width. If I run it now, why don't I see this thing? Height, width. I got the background. Oh, I need style here too. Alright, good. So now I got my green little cell. Style.margin equals 0 auto. That should center it for me. I want to change the font, so I'm going to copy these things, and I'm going to change the font size I'm going to change the font weight, and I'm going to change the font family. I'm also going to put something in the box. So we'll say player box.inner HTML, and I'm going to put an X in there for starters because my player is going to start with player X. And then I think that's pretty good. So for the font size, I'm going to say 48 points. For the weight, I want it nice and thick. So I'm going to make the weight 900. And the font family, I'm going to make it not, I'll show you what it is. You could say serif. And let's run that. So there it is. I'm going to go with sans serif. And it looks like I need to center things on the page, so I'm just going to say center everything. Document.body.style.textAlign equals center. Helps if you spell it properly. And there we go. So sans serif gets rid of the little feet on the character, and centering it obviously puts it in the middle. Alright, now I want to be able to see the canvas. So I'm going to give it a border. And boom. Okay. And I want to make it a 300 by 300. I think this one you don't have to do style. With canvases you just give it a number. And you don't put it as a string with pixels, you just put a number. And you don't do it with the style. So there's a 300 by 300 grid for my game board, I'll call it. And now we can see things. So we can update the drawing, we can switch the player. Very good. Let's see, what more do we have to set up? I need to be able to draw on the canvas, so I'm going to make a variable called the context, or the CTX. And that's going to be the canvas.getContext 2D, and I want the 2D context so I can have those drawing tools. I want to record who the current player is. So I'm going to use lowercase here. When I write it on the screen, I'll use uppercase, but in the code, I'm going to just keep track with lowercase. So there's the player. And then that should be good. So let me, and let's draw the lines. Let's get those first grid lines drawn too. So I'm going to come down here and say ctx.beginPath, ctx.moveTo, and the first line was at 100 pixels in, and then I want to go most of the height. So from here to here. So I'm going to go 100 pixels to the right and maybe 20 pixels down. And I'm going to draw a line to, still 100 pixels to the right, but now I'm going to go not the full 300 down, but maybe 20 shy of that, so 280. And then I need to ctx.stroke to see what I've done. And there I've got my first mark for the line. If I copy and paste those two instructions, I can move this over now to 200 to the right. And I have a second line. And then I'm going to copy and paste those two again. This time I'm going to go from the left, will be 20 to 280. And on the right, we will go to, I'm sorry, for the vertical will be 100 down. And I'll do that again, but now we'll go 200 down. And now we have our grid, so you know you now know what game you're playing. We could put a title somewhere on here that says tic-tac-toe, but I'll leave that for later. So there we go. So we'll finish setting up this file here by adding some event listener. So this is so right now it's just a picture, but we're going to add the ability for this thing to actually know when you click it. So I'm going to say canvas.onClick, and we're going to make a function which is an event handler, so there's going to be an event whenever it's clicked. I'm going to call that E. And then what happens goes inside these brackets. So we're just going to say switch player. I'm going to make a function called switch player, which switches the player and shows the new player up here. So I need to make that function in order for that to work. So I'm going to define that function now. Switch player. And that function is just going to say if player is X, set player to O, or else set player to X. And once it's done that, let's write that to the top of the screen here. So player box inner HTML equals player dot to uppercase. Let's try this. All right, let's run it. If I click, it switches whose turn it is. So I can now see whose turn it is. So that's the beginning. That's the setup. And we have this nice little on-click event. So the game does nothing unless I click, and then whatever happens in here is going to have to end up being this algorithm here. So we got the setup going. We have a little bit more setup to do, and then we'll start building this in the next video.